My grandfather owned and ran a Portuguese newspaper from Panjim, which today is the Herald. And I was very intimately involved every time I went to Goa with the most recent thinking about Goan feeling. And this was not Catholic and Hindu, it was Goan, whether Catholic or Hindu or both. And there was no real uprising of feeling like there was here in India. There was no Gandhism, there was no Congress party, there was no strong sense of independence of that kind. Yes, they wanted to be free of the Portuguese, but that's all. There was no sense of wanting, and it wasn't organized. It was just a lot of hot air in the editorial room of my grandfather's newspaper. Very, very different from what happened here. What happened here was that you needed the non-violent struggle of Gandhi to master the guns, rifles, and armies of the Brits and the police.
So it was a hard-won independence.
It was a hard-won independence here. It was an independence that was handed to Goa by the Indian Army.
An interesting point about the independence of, or the liberation of Goa, was that, of course, after India gained independence, there were still pockets of India that were under foreign rule. The French gave up Pondicherry in, I think it was 1954, but the Portuguese were extremely possessive about Goa. So as the demands for independence became more febrile from Delhi, the Portuguese began encouraging Goans to emigrate. And so Goans rushed to buy passages to besides Lisbon, Mozambique, Angola, Brazil. The Portuguese genuinely believed that if the intelligentsia, the Goan intelligentsia, left Goa, the island would implode. There was, at that time, the Prime Minister of Portugal, was a dictatorial Prime Minister called Antonio Salazar. And he, in fact, Antonio Salazar is believed to have sent constant radio messages to the Governor General of of Portuguese India, asking him to resist to the last man. If the Governor General had not followed the dictates of his own conscience and had followed instructions and resisted to the last man, Goa would have been completely destroyed. So in one sense, one is so grateful that he didn't. He surrendered, and even though there were air, land, and sea strikes, the death toll during the liberation was kept to a minimum. Mehe.
Very true. The mistake that Salazar made was that he refused to negotiate with Nehru about the independence of Goa, where de Gaulle negotiated with Nehru, as a result of which Pondicherry, Mahe, and Karaikal are still in possession of many aspects of French culture. When you go there, there's a clear difference between what goes on in Tamil Nadu and what is happening in Pondicherry, in education, in food, in ways of life. Very different from Goa, which is no different from nearby Maharashtra. And yet different because Konkani is a different language.